Post Office and Federal Court building, which is now being dedicated, reminds one of the great progress and growth which has taken place in the present great post office and postal system. However, we should not forget, without the hands of labor, this building would not have come into being. And this applies not only to the carpenters, to the bricklayers, the mechanics and artisans of every character who participate in the actual construction, but as well to the workers in the mills and factories who produced and fashioned the materials necessary in making possible this imposing edifice. It is indeed an honor for me to be here today and join with you in the dedication of your new post office and courthouse building. I believe that nothing is too good for the people of Harrisonburg and Rockingham County.
When I was in grade school, either kindergarten or first grade at Waterman Elementary, we actually had a class walking tour, meaning we walked down to the post office to actually watch the artist in action. He was up there on scaffolding and he was doing the mural. And as children the age we were ordered to sit down on the floor over near the wall and be quiet. And we watched. That was my first real true memory of it and involvement.
Well known as a Washington, D.C. artist, William Calfee began his art studies at the Phillips Memorial Gallery under C. Law Watkins. During the 40s, Calfee became chairman of the art department at American University. Thomas Colt, director of the Virginia Museum, chaired a committee to select an artist for the Harrisonburg Post Office and Courthouse mural project. Colt appointed a committee, held a regional competition, and forwarded a report detailing the committee's reasons behind the choice of Calfee's design. Of the winning entry, he said, "It is the work of an extremely competent artist and is notable for its inventiveness." The suggestion was made that in enlarging the sketch, the artist include a church and a person of the Mennonite sect in order to more closely approach the life of the region.
He was also hired to do this job by the federal government under a program that continued, even though it was World War II, from the Depression years. The program was called WPA, Works Progress Administration, and so monies were made available to not only provide jobs for people to do construction work, etc., but also monies for artists.
WPA started as there was the Great Depression. The stock market collapsed, and I remember a long, blocks long red lines and people trying to get a job. Artists at that time couldn't have gotten a single commission for maybe 10 years. That's like not being able to get a job for 10 years. Franklin Roosevelt was a man who came from some wealth. He liked art and knew a lot of artists, and he had a small collection himself. He wanted to start to give money to the poor people. And the way he started was the idea of starting to give commissions to artists to paint murals.
As I was in Harrisonburg for a while, of course, going to the post office, kind of spotted the plaque going into the post office that it was a WPA building, and then spotted the mural, and then kind of worked backwards from there to see where the mural fit into the alphabet soup. That's where my interest with the WPA arts projects got started. The WPA Federal Artists Project, similar to the Federal Theater Project, was primarily a kind of a relief project with the idea that, let's say, the artists were then hired by the government to do specific sorts of projects. But the murals, particularly in the post offices, were undertaken and funded separately through the Treasury Department, with the idea that they would open it to artists who were not necessarily employed by the Federal Artist Project. Anyone could enter, and you could get awarded a commission for X amount of money to execute the artwork. But certainly in the range of pricing, I think the bottom end was around $400, and Yep, 6,000 was about the upper limit.
I have taken many groups on walks of downtown Harrisonburg, and before the post office really closed down, part of my walk was to take people into that lobby when the post office was, of course, operating, and explain the mural to them. And it was always fun because people that were standing in line with their packages or waiting to buy stamps would tune in. You could tell by their facial and body expressions they were listening in to what in the world was that fellow talking about over there. And I'm convinced that a lot of people many, many times would go in and out of the post office and never glance up.
The Harrisonburg Court Square mural is tempera on panel and is approximately 7 feet high and 70 feet long. The mural stretches the entire length of the Federal Building lobby. The woman shown dancing here is Linda Frazier, one of Harrisonburg's most well-known and respected citizens. The installed mural delighted the Harrisonburg public. As one citizen wrote, "This is by far the most exciting thing to happen to Harrisonburg, and we want you to know that we sincerely appreciate it."
Right in the middle of the mural, about midway through the lobby, there is a copy of the fountain that sits in front of the courthouse. That was picked up by the artist as something to symbolize the reality of doing his picture in Harrisonburg. He doesn't show any other buildings in the mural that would be background type thing, because really the mural is a close-up of people doing things. There are men unloading cargo and pushing carts, and there's a horse or so in the picture, kind of in a background-like setting. There are women with groceries or vegetables or whatever in their hands, and they're obviously shopping. There are children along with the women. There's in fact a wagon with a child, or I believe a young boy, in the wagon. I think on the side of that wagon is the artist's name and the date that he did the drawing. There's also several sizable animals like horses and cattle and all that, and turkeys, by the way, and chickens. What he was trying to show was Harrisonburg is a market town. And back in 1943, it was unquestionably the headquarters of Rockingham County. Of course, it's still the county seat, and it's also the busiest and biggest community within the county. But in the 1940s, number one, we had no shopping centers. The two words didn't exist yet. Number two, all the commerce and otherwise gathering of people that occurred would have been pretty much connected with downtown. And of course, downtown had its marketplace.
Interior remodeling of the post office in 1971 almost ended the mural's tenure in the lobby when the contractor discovered the wall behind the mural was in need of repair. Fortunately, the postmaster, Wayne Chittum, said that there was no way the mural was going to be destroyed. Another artist, Hiram Holzer, was hired to restore the mural.
There were always damages on the mural. Sometimes kids or whoever, if they could reach the mural, sometimes they scratch it or write things on it with markers. Inevitably, since the murals were there for 30 or 40 years, there was almost always some water damage. The plaster underneath the mural is damaged and the adhesive is often released. I would have to be able to remove that section of the mural and try to just retouch those areas where the flakes of paint have been on.
I guess there was one comment at the time when the mural first opened that it was, quote, the biggest thing that ever happened in Harrisonburg. So I thought it was quite the wonder of the age.
It's, to me, one of my favorite images of Harrisonburg.
I guess one of the issues in Harrisonburg is going to be what happens to the mural now that the post office isn't the post office.
GSA has plans for renovations in the area where the mural is. We have no definite plans as to where the mural will be located, but it will not be destroyed and it will remain in this building.
Give me a kiss to build a dream on, and my imagination will thrive upon that kiss. Sweetheart, I ask no more than this. A kiss to build a dream on.